Welcome to Battles, Real People. I'm your host, Christian Betancourt. I have Izzy here with us. How you doing, Izzy?
I'm good, thanks.
How's life treating you?
Pretty good. I can't complain. Dealing with the aches and pains, but I'm all right. Surviving.
Isn't any other veterans going through that?
Yeah, yeah. That's actually quite common.
Yeah. So
No one, no
Izzy,
one will admit it, but I believe it's that damn anthrax vaccine they gave us. I've been suffering from arthritis pain since I came home in '04.
oh man. So please tell us about your military life.
Okay, I enlisted in the Army Reserves in '93, and then 2000. I wanted to change career paths. So I changed over to the National Guard. I became a military police. I was an engineer prior to that. And with the MPs, I served at Ground Zero and I served in Iraq in '03, '04. My
So you were
career
there
ended in
in 2001,
2000, in 2001 at Ground Zero.
ground
Yes.
zero. We were doing the Lincoln Tunnel. We were
Okay.
active until
Yeah.
Lincoln Tunnel, and some guys went to George Washington Bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we
We
did
go
Ground Zero and we did Penn Station and Times Square. It was a pretty decent detail.
Were you ever deployed in different places in the world?
Iraq in '03, '04. Prior to that, as an engineer, we did humanitarian missions. Like we built some schools and paved some roads in Panama and Guatemala. We visited Italy and Germany too.
What was your
It's an
mission?
annual training.
What was
We
your
were
mission in
engineers.
Iraq?
In Iraq, my unit was tasked with training the Iraqi police. We ran the Iraqi Police Academy, and we also did a lot of convoy security.
Yeah, they they told us when we deployed that we were going to do that, and they ended up changing our whole mission, and we started doing convoy missions and going to IP stations and conducting uh, well, all the specialists and below were doing outside security, and everybody else was inside, getting the accountability of the police officers, weapons, prisoners.
Mhm.
Yeah, in
Okay.
Seder City.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah, most of the guys in my unit were police and correction officers, so we had a lot of law enforcement experience. I'm going to assume that's why we were tasked with that mission, you know?
Yeah. How long did you do corrections for?
26 years until I retired 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, how you
When I
feel
got
now?
deployed, when I got deployed to Iraq, I had about 9 years on the job. Yeah. It was
Wow.
an experience, you know. It's not a job for everyone, I'll tell you that, you know.
Yeah.
Um, I actually felt pretty comfortable working inside the prison system, you know.
Did you happen to lose any of your brothers in deployment?
In '03, we took three casualties, October of '03. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we lost four of our brothers due to IADs on June 4th and June 5th. And we never forget about them, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
We had a near death experience with an IED, but thank God that the enemy's an idiot. They blew up the IED early and it wound up exploding the vehicle that was in front of our convoy.
uh, yeah. When you came back home, how did you deal with the stress
It was
and the
real hard
trauma?
to adjust. Uh, um I don't remember anyone telling me where I could go to get help. I'm sure they did. I just don't remember it. I wanted to get out of get released so quickly that I probably wasn't even paying attention to what they were saying, you know. So it I didn't know where to turn to get help. And part of me felt like I was okay, I could deal with it. I was trying to deal with it as best I could on my own until I couldn't deal with it no more. The stress and I had severe migraines and I was dealing with depression. It was a whole bunch of things at one time. And at the time, like I said, I was trying to deal with it the best I could until I just couldn't take it anymore. And then I wound up getting help from the VA. I actually stayed in the VA for a few weeks that first time, you know, and then they got me the help I needed. They put me on medication regimen, to help with the depression and the PTSD. And I started to once I got released from the hospital, I started to attend therapy sessions and see someone regularly. I still see someone regularly. I see someone once a month now. You know, just because I still feel like I need to talk to somebody sometimes.
Yeah, I think therapy is one of the things that I was very close to in the sense of it was like one of the things that I needed. I needed to talk about, what I went through and all the things that were happening during that time, that present time. I definitely
Definitely.
would recommend the vet center to a lot of
Mhm.
veterans that are listening in.
Oh yeah.
Vet center
Yes.
is a total difference when it comes to VA treatment. Because once you're in VA treatment, it takes like 2, 3 hours first to do an assessment.
Yeah.
And then from
Yeah.
there, they go, you see your doctor, and then they give you like a list. And it's like, how do you feel from 1 to 10? You know,
Yeah.
I hated that.
Yeah.
But
And
with
then
the,
if God forbid your doctor retires or leaves, then you have to go through that process all over again. I've been through it a few times.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And the vet center, it's like a totally different thing. You could actually have a conversation, they give you feedback, and you continue.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Um,
vet says the vet center has been really good to me and it's close to home. Can't beat that.
yeah. Yeah, I've been going to the vet center since 2009 from New Jersey. Then I moved to Florida, and now yeah, it's been going on 16 years. Uh, After your deployment, anything else stood out for you? That something like a battle that you went through?
And he said I was dealing with the depression and the PTSD and the migraines. The migraines I dealt with for a while. I was hoping they would go away. I was self-medicated and taking ibuprofen a few times a day, and it helped, but I got to the point where it wasn't helping anymore, you know, before I even let my doctors know. When I finally let my doctors know, then they wanted to give me more pain medication. They didn't even run any tests. They prescribed me some pain medication, and I tried it for a month or so, and the pain medication didn't work. And when I went back, they wanted to give me a different pain medication. So I had to tell my doctor, I don't want to take any more pain meds. I want to know what's causing this. And that's when the neurologist put me in for the MRI and they found the brain tumor.
Wow. What was your
Yeah.
first reaction when you were diagnosed with brain cancer?
Had a lot of questions, man. I'm not going to lie, it was the scariest thing I ever had to deal with. Uh, Um, Mentally, it almost broke me, because it's like a shadow hanging over you, thinking that, damn, this thing can always come back. Or what if? And I didn't know anyone who was going through it, until I started doing the research and reaching out to people and finding others that were affected the same way. But not knowing was really bad.
Yeah, and look at that. We went through two different lives. You're in New York, I'm in Jersey. We both served. We came back. We both started fighting cancer, and we're both cancer free. How many
Yeah,
years you're
man.
cancer free now?
15 years in remission, brother.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
That is
It's
great.
a hell of a milestone, because my doctors told me that it was a good possibility it would come back within 10 years. I'm outside of that window now. 15 years, man.
I got 12. I'm right behind
Wow.
you.
Okay, okay, okay. Yep. And I never really had any luck in my life, but I guess I was kind of lucky with this thing because my doctors told me if you were going to have brain cancer, the one that I have is the most treatable, that the highest percentage of recovery is the one that I have. You know,
You remember the name of the tumor?
oleodendroglioma.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Mine was thalamic glioma,
Okay.
which affected the pituitary gland. So now I gotta
Yes.
the message from the brain doesn't talk to the pituitary gland, so that's why I gotta take thyroid medicine,
Wow.
and
Okay.
it's uh it's tough because there's times I want to exercise, and then it's like
Hmm.
I feel fatigued, I feel weak, I
Yeah.
feel tired.
Yeah.
You know, so
I
I'm
get
trying
it.
to find different ways,
How about
researching.
your memory?
My memory's
Yeah.
terrible, terrible.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but I'm taking lion's mane, and this
Yeah.
helped a little bit. Lion's
Okay.
mane. Uh,
Yeah. My long-term memory is excellent. Like I remember everything literally from when I was a child, but the short-term memory is horrible. Like I could be having a conversation with you now, 5 minutes from now, I won't remember what we were talking about,
yeah,
but the long term, it's great.
yeah.
When I first had the surgery, they put me on a medication called Topamax. I don't know if they ever tried it on you. It's for
No.
migraines and seizures, right? And it was right after my surgery. It gave me really bad memory issues, and I didn't realize it was the medication. I thought it was the tumor until about 2 years later. I stopped taking the medication because I felt like I didn't need it. And I stopped taking it for a good year or so without any real migraine issues, you know, and my memory started to get better. But then the migraines came back. So I asked my doctor to put me back on it, right? That's when I realized it was that medication that was causing really bad memory issues. Because the first week on it, I would wake up in my bed and not even know where I was at, you know? It was really bad. I had to stop taking it. They had to they they had to prescribe me something else, Zilmatramptin, I believe it's called. That I take as needed, and I take it maybe once or twice a month if I need it, and that it knocks it right out.
You went through a lot, man.
Yeah,
I never
man.
had
But we're
migraines
still
like
here.
that.
Say again?
I never had migraines like that before. Uh, it came out a little bit later, but then it disappeared. But
Okay. Yeah, my migraines were horrible, man. I used to tell my doctor it felt like somebody was stabbing me in the brain. And I kept telling him it was on the right side of my brain. That's exactly where the tumor was. Yeah, and I used to get them literally just about every other freaking day. I'd freaking get them, man. You know, now maybe once a month after the surgery. Yeah,
when you were going through brain cancer and you did all the treatments and whatnot, what was the strength that kept you going?
my kids,
Your kids,
my kids. Yeah, I had to be strong for them, man. They were still young, you know.
how old
They
were
were
they?
like 10, 8, 10, 8, and then 6 years old. So I had to be strong here for them. I knew I had to recover and I had to beat this because I still had to be here for them. So that was my goal. It kept me focused. Every day I wake up and I would get out of bed. I would find things to do. I try to get out the house, whether it was take a long walk or I would break out my mountain bike and get on the bike, because I really couldn't do much else physical activity because I had limitations for like 6 months.
Yeah.
So that was all I could do. But man, I'd be walking all around the whole neighborhood, man, just to get out of bed, just to get up and just to prove to myself I could do it.
In those darkest times that you were going through combat and cancer, would you say that it would be kind of the same or different?
You know what? I always tell my friends that if I had a choice to deal with brain cancer or deal with combat, I'd take the combat. Put me back in the combat. You know what I'm saying? At least I know the enemy, you know, and I pretty much know what I'm capable of. With brain cancer, it's just so many unknowns, you know, that it's very scary.
I agree 100%. Because it's like the cancer just snuck up behind your back,
Exactly, you
cut
know,
your throat, shoot you in the back. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the
It's
enemy.
it's it's not an enemy you can target, you know.
Yeah. How did you find that courage when you went through the military, through your deployments?
Again, I knew I had to do whatever I had to do to make sure that I was good because I had to come back home. So that was my focus. That's what kept me going every day. I didn't really worry about what was going on around me or dying out there. I figured if it was my day, there was nothing I could do about it. I probably wouldn't see it coming. So I didn't stress it out. Every day I went out there and did what I had to do.
If you had a message to send to younger soldiers, what would it be?
When things get hard, you can't give up hope. You have to find you have to find your focus, whatever's gonna make you achieve that goal. You got to try to stay positive. My focus was my kids. So they have to find that motivation that's going to keep them going because times are going to get hard, especially being in the military. Things will get tough, you know what I'm saying? But I felt like we were trained to deal with whatever we needed to deal with. The hardest part about me being deployed was being away from my kids. So they got to find that focus to do whatever they need to do to motivate them to keep going because eventually things do get better. No matter how dark things get, eventually things get better. I've experienced some dark times where I was just about to give up and I just held out, and for some reason I prayed and things got better, you know.
And for our fellow veterans, any advice?
If they need help, there's so many resources out there. The vet center is really good, like you mentioned earlier. The VA has done really good by me also. But there's so many different resources out there. Like right now in New York, and probably in your state also, there's a lot of not-for-profit mental health agencies that offer peer support. There's a not-for-profit out here that does peer-to-peer support just for veterans. You know, so there's resources also outside of the VA. Everybody has a computer or a smartphone. All they got to do is look. The resources are there. There's a lot more help than when we came back home. Nobody
Yeah.
should suffer in silence. Pick up the phone, do your research, find a spot, get help. Get help. It'll make you feel better. Group therapy was great for me, sitting in a room with other veterans and hearing them tell their stories about the things that they experienced. It made me feel better that I wasn't alone.
I went to inpatient PTSD program for 45 days. I was going through a rough patch and a vacation wouldn't suffice. I needed to get help. And when I went in there, it was a whole different world. I was there with Vietnam vets, Marines, Army, Navy, and it was a whole different experience and to see guys, walking like zombies on those drugs, that the psychiatrists give you. And it was impossible, like, to talk to them. And at one point, like, probably 2 days in, the president of the group was like, "When do you leave?" I was like, "Ah, I got like 43 days left." He's like, "Oh, you're president now." I was like, "Okay." So since I finished as a staff sergeant, I was like, "I'll take this leadership," and I did whatever I could to help, other veterans. There were situations where they were getting disrespected uh, at the child line, and I would stand up to them. And there were situations where they wanted to exercise and the gym wasn't open, it was locked, and I had to make calls. I had to, talk to different uh, people that worked there in order to open that gym up.
Hmm.
And uh, that's all I wanted was to make a difference in those guys. And as soon as my 45 days were up, I had to get a
Yeah.
new president. So to take over. But it
Yeah.
definitely made a difference. It made me look at things in a different perspective. And it definitely had a clear vision of what I wanted to do. And that's when I decided to move to Florida. And it's been awesome here. The beach is here, like half an hour away. And, you know, the summer, the springtime, it's like summer.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Eventually, I'll be down there permanently.
hopefully.
Yeah, man.
I can't deal with that Jersey weather or that bipolar weather. Uh,
Yeah.
clean off the ice from your car, slipping on ice.
Hmm. Yep. Yep.
So,
I get it, man. I get it.
yeah.
Yep.
What would be a proud moment of right now of yourself?
Having experienced all the memory issues that I've dealt with, you know what I'm saying, after the brain cancer, right? I took a promotional exam at my last job in 2018, right? And I scored a 95 on that test. To do that, I had to study and try to memorize a lot of material that would be on the test. And it actually worked. I didn't think I was going to be able to do it, but it stuck. When I sat down to take the test, I actually remembered everything. So that was a proud moment, you know. And then being able to retire after all that I've been through, you know, with the brain cancer and PTSD, and I survived it all, you know. So I'd say that's a proud moment, you know. I
Yeah.
did it. I'd never let it keep me down. Although there were times that, I was down, but I didn't stay down, you know.
Did you feel like you bettered yourself as you were going through therapy and and and,
Yes.
and eventually now you're retired? You feel like you bettered yourself in that progress?
Yeah, it calmed me down. Like it had all of that had a calming effect on me, you know what I'm saying? And actually, when I retired from corrections, I was doing peer support work for a year, and I actually enjoyed it, helping other people. The only reason I stopped was that I just didn't feel the need to work anymore, but I enjoyed helping others, being able to talk to them and help them find, solutions for things that they were going through.
Yeah, 100%. Now, as we close out our podcast session today, what does real battles, real people mean to you personally?
We we've kind of really been through it, you know what I'm saying? We've had our not only the battles with the combat, but afterwards, those are battles too. Things that we'd had to deal with to readjust with society, the family life, and then the cancer. Those are real issues, and people are still dealing with those right now. So hopefully someone can see this and they're going through it and they get the message that, listen, wow, I'm not alone. These guys survived it.
Any last words you want to mention before we close out?
Again, there's so many resources out there. If anyone is out there suffering in silence, please get help. Whether it's calling the 988 number or calling the VA directly, they're really good at getting you the help that you need. They care. They'll even follow up with you. They didn't used to follow up with us when we came back home. Now they send you cards in the mail, someone to call you. You know, they're actually concerned. They the 22 a day, they want to break that pattern, you know?
Well, I want to thank you, Izzy, for being on my show. You know, you have gone through combat, you have gone through cancer, and here you are.
Thank you,
That is
brother. It
great.
was a pleasure. Pleasure to be here, man.
Yeah,
Anytime. Thanks for
uh,
having me.
no doubt, brother.